Thank you for tuning in to the Crystal Clear Finances YouTube channel. We're glad that you're here. If you enjoy what you hear, then give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you can always receive our new content and that you can have confidence for every financial decision. Enjoy. Welcome to Crystal Clear Finances. My name is Crystal Langdon. I'm a certified financial planner, qualified kingdom advisor, fiduciary, founder of Crystal Clear Finances, but I'm honored to also be your host for the next 30 minutes. And I understand that finances can feel confusing when you're trying to find all these strategies. It's hard to do it alone. But in working together, we can provide confidence so that you can face every financial decision. Well, today is week 2 that we're talking about 5 ways that we can respond to all the craziness that's going on instead of reacting. And if you didn't get a chance to watch our YouTube from last week, I would encourage you to go back. And I know those of you who are watching us today on YouTube, it's great that you've subscribed. And all of my radio listeners on all those different radio towers out there, I want to encourage you, go over to the Crystal Clear Finances channel on YouTube, subscribe, and then you'll be notified every time we have a program. And you'll also be able to see a lot of the illustrations that we're doing together right on here. So instead of verbally walking through it with you, you'll be able to see it as well. Now, I do want to do a quick recap as we're going through this month so that we're on the same channel. Last week, we talked about one of the things that we can do when it comes to learning how to respond, not react, is that we need to evaluate. We need to look and see what's really going on. I gave the example of Nintendo, how they saw that they were going down fast. Atari was going to beat them and everything else. They made some minor adjustments, and because of that, they regained 95% of the gaming share. So that was a pretty big deal. They have the most iconic character with Mario, Super Brother, or Super Mario, I should say. And so they were able to evaluate and respond, not just thrash around and react. And we want to do the same thing. One of the ways is by understanding, one of the steps we can do is to evaluate, is the amount that you're taking out of the stock market right now the true amount that you should be touching, or should you have a conversation with your financial advisor and say, listen, I know that you said the market averages such and such for a certain period of time, and I know that you said I could take 4 or 5% out and I would live happily ever after, but I'm concerned. Crystal Clear Finances said that may not be true. Can you show me how it's true? And of course, we have the software here to illustrate that we don't think that's true, because average versus actual is different. And when you're accumulating all those years, adding money in, you're averaging the return. But we gave an example and showed when it comes to the actual amount that your account grows, you could get a 25% return, but actually grow by a 0. And if that has you intrigued, I would encourage you to watch last week's program on our YouTube channel. But let's jump into today's program. And where I want to start is, okay, so if we know by evaluating, one of the things that we can do during this downturn in the market, or really whenever you are investing and taking money out, one of the things you can do is to look at the amount you're withdrawing. The second thing is, if you say, Crystal, I still need that money, well, then you need to figure out and evaluate with your advisor, where do you take that money from? And so what we were proposing last week, or I shouldn't say proposing, we were explaining last week, is that there's 3 components to a financial plan at the Office of Crystal Clear Finances. We talked about the fact, as I demonstrate on my computer here, that there is a savings. And this savings, we want to grow uninterrupted, compounding interest. We want to put money in it that it can grow tax-free. And here's the deal. We want our cake and eat it too. We want to be able to put it in and let it grow tax-free and take it out tax-free. That's pretty cool, because then we don't have to figure in how much we have to give the government for taxes. We also talked last week that another part of the financial plan is making sure that we have the proper investments. And of course, we want to make sure that we have protection, because we don't want someone coming onto our property, slipping and falling and trying to sue us and take everything we have. And I know I have a lot of faith-based listeners. I am faith-based, and I would love to believe no one would do that. But I would also love to believe in the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, and they're just not real. Oh, I hope you closed your children's ears. So, all right, so let's go through this. We know that when it comes to a foundational plan, we want savings, we want investments, we want to make sure we have insurance. We talked last week about the importance of making sure that we understand that we want to do everything as tax-free as possible. We talked about the volatility of the market. So the last thing, so 3 parts: savings, investments, protection. 2 beliefs: the market will always be volatile and taxes will probably always increase, so we want to prepare for them, because the one thing we want, the ideal position, is the day that you come to me and say, Crystal, I'm not working anymore. I'm not putting any more money into my getting any more money from my job, and that disappears. And when that disappears, you're going to come to me and you're going to say, Crystal, I'm retiring. And I need to have money taken out of either my yellow tank when the market's good and you can sell it at a high and I can live off that, or I need to take money from the green tank because the market's low and I need to make sure I have cash flow coming in, because that is the one ideal position we want you in, so that when you retire, it can be at the same standard of living you have now or better, adjusted for inflation, for your entire retirement years. So let's talk a little bit, if we're evaluating, how does this green tank work? And I think it's so important that we begin to understand that. And when we begin to understand that, let me go ahead and I'm going to look at an illustration here that we can do. It's called strategies for savings. And when I look at the strategies for savings and I go through, and we've already talked about this component, but I want to talk about the benefits that are available. When I'm looking at a savings account, and I'm going to put all the benefits up here on the YouTube channel, but I want to talk them through, because many times people will say, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put money in the market. And that way, when the market does really good, I'm going to be able to tap into the growth. Okay, I like your thinking. And then they say, but the rest of my money, I'm either going to keep in my mattress or I'm going to keep at the bank. Okay, so the bank gives you point nothing. And even if it promises to compound your point nothing, what do you really get from an institution that just had to put their own money to build the building and then takes everybody else's money in, and then they loan it to other people and they make money on it and give you very little interest? Something to think about. So is the bank really the best place to have a savings account for your large amount of savings? Because if it's not keeping up with the cost of living, how is it going to create that income for you when you're in retirement? And that's why I believe this criteria that you see right here, these 12 areas, are crucial when you're looking for what do I need in creating a savings account. So we want to have a savings account that has tax-deferred growth, meaning I'm going to put money in it, it's going to make money, and I don't have to worry about paying taxes on it. Okay, we experience that a lot of times in an IRA or 401k, right? You put money in it, it hopefully grows, and when it does, you don't have to pay taxes on it until when? Well, you take it out. Well, with a green tank, with a properly structured green tank, this savings account, we want to be able to not only put the money in and let it grow tax deferred, we want to take it out tax free. In other words, I'll pay my taxes now. I'll get my paycheck. After I got my paycheck, which I already took out my taxes, my money's sitting in my checking account, I'm going to say, Crystal, I'm going to call you at Crystal Clear Finances. I'm going to say, how do I make one of these green tanks so I can now put my money in it, let it grow tax-free, and then take it out tax-free? And we would show you how. The other thing that we're looking at, and these are just criteria, you can go talk to your financial advisor about it. You're welcome to give us a call at 518-433-7181. We'd be happy to help you. But the other thing you want is a competitive return. Now, here's the kicker on that. When it comes to competitive returns, a lot of times people think, well, I should be getting 10% in it. Okay, relax, take a deep breath, and refocus. We're talking about a savings account, not an investment account, but a consistent savings account that will give us a guaranteed, and you're not usually allowed to say that word, but guaranteed based upon the strength of the company savings account that will allow that money to grow. That's what we want to make sure we have. And in those type of account, competitive, 3%. How many of you, you'd like 3% in your savings? How many would like to have up to 5% in your savings? Yeah, that would help a lot when we go to the store and buy our $4 a dozen eggs. It would help a lot when we go buy our bread, wouldn't it? And that's why our savings account, needs to be positioned properly. When we get overwhelmed with everything that's happened in life, we get sloppy and we make decisions that are reactionary and they don't help us. Now more than ever, your savings needs to be working as hard as you do. And that's why we need to put these in place. So you want to, in my opinion, we help our clients put in tax-deferred growth. We want them to take it out tax-free. We want a competitive return. We want them to be able to put in as much as they want to. You know, you think about a Roth. They let you put in, if you're 50 or over, they let you put in a Roth $7,000 a year. Hoo-hoo. Yeah, so we're going to retire tomorrow on that. We have to understand that we've got to have larger amount of resources. Now, there is a way to deal with that. We can do IRA conversions that go over into the Roth. A lot of people are looking at that option right now because with their IRA account being down, they roll over the same number of shares. Those shares are worth less, right? Because the market's down. This is a good thing temporarily. They pay taxes on the smaller amount because it's worth less. And then hopefully the market recovers and then the shares build right back up. And they were able to take it from a tax-deferred bucket into a tax-free or tax-advantage bucket. That's a good tip right there. But those are things that you begin looking at, and you want to be able to, getting back to what we were discussing, the ability to make high contributions into your savings account. Now, a couple other areas when you're looking at savings, and I'm not going to go through all 12 of these, but we want to make sure that it's safe. You know, why we use the yellow tank, the investments, the stock market, we all know that it's not safe. When people say, oh, I'm saving for retirement, and I said, oh, how are you saving? What green tank of savings are you using? They're like, oh, I put it in this fund or that stock. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You are not saving when you put it in the stock market. You are investing when you put it in the stock market. You are saving when you put it in the green tank. So I want to make sure we clear up that language on that so that we don't have a misunderstanding, because when you quote unquote save in the market, it is not a safe place. Hence why we always say it's the yellow tank where you use caution. It's not red like stop, don't go in it. We want you to go into the market. We want you to be able to be positioned for growth, but we want you to do it when you've already have your safe money in place so that you can afford to lose it. Now, in 25 years, have I seen someone lose absolutely everything in the market? I haven't. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. Doesn't mean anything except for understand there is risk in the market and we want to have savings outside of it. Now, the other potential that we want in here before we moved on to the next slide is we want to have liquidity, use, and control. Now, you might say, well, Crystal, of course you'd have liquidity, use, and control whenever you have money in the savings. Have you thought about a CD? Those are at the bank, and that's a form of savings. Do you have liquidity, use, and control on that? I don't think so. Now, I will dispel a myth that people are like, oh, I can't break my CD because I'll lose. Well, what you will lose is that huge 0.0% interest that they usually give. Now, to be fair, I think it's up. Some of them are up to 2%. I think there was a CD I saw the other day at 3%, which is good compared to where we were a couple years ago. But what they're doing in exchange to give you that 3% is they're saying you can't touch this money. Though if you break it, usually what happens is you just give up whatever interest. But again, you'd want to check to see what the regulations are with the bank that you're using with your CD. But the point of it is, the reason why we make the green tank, right? The reason why we have the savings is so it can be safe. You can touch it when the market's down. If you're locking it up and the market's down, where are you getting the cash flow if you're in retirement? If you're not in retirement, that's not the issue there. But in retirement, many people need an income stream. Having both buckets where you can say, or both tanks, so that you can literally say, okay, I'm going to take money from the investments when they're up and the savings when it's down, is critical. So there are several other areas that we could go over when it comes to characteristics, but these are the main ones. You want to make sure you're able to touch your money. It's keeping up with the cost of living. It's growing tax-free. You can take it out tax-free. It's got a competitive return. You can put as much money in it, and you also have collateral capacity. Now that's a mouthful, and we're going to talk about it in just 30 seconds when we're back with more Crystal Clear Finances. And we're back with more Crystal Clear Finances. My name is Crystal Langdon, and today we are walking through steps that you can be taking so that you are not reacting in the craziness of this world, that you are responding, that you are evaluating, you are making logical decisions with your advisor. And if you do not have an advisor, pick me. I would love to work with you and come alongside you. You can work with myself or my son, George the Fifth, call him 5, and you are more than welcome to give our office a call at 518-433-7181. So before we went to the break, we were talking about the importance of building a smart savings account to offset what's happening in the market so that you can get an income stream from it. We went through all the different benefits, not every one of them. I have them listed here so those on YouTube can see this, but the benefits that you need to have, in my opinion, inside your safe account. But what I'd like to go ahead and do is I'd like to show you some options that you can use. Now you'll see on the right-hand side, I listed all the benefits that I want to see in a safe tank. I listed them out, and as I click on each one, they'll highlight. My goal is to get as many highlighted, as many benefits as possible that line up. So let's kind of walk our way through, and one of the things that we want to do is we can look, would a 401k work as a safe account? I want you to think about this. Please don't say yes, because a 401k, where is it invested? It's invested in the market. And so when we look at that, and I understand there's probably somebody out there saying, but my account's in a stable account inside the 401k. Well, you are correct in that sense, but most 401ks, individuals put their money inside the stock, inside funds, they invest them, and so there's a lot of risk. I don't want my backup plan for my clients to be something that has risk associated to the market. Now, there's all kinds of risk. I should do a program on the 7 types of risk that are out there besides market risk and purchasing power risk and inflation risk and currency risk. And we can go through all of them. But right here, what I'm trying to say is a 401k is not the backup plan. Now, how many of you, and here's the deal, I can't see you, but how many of you have used your 401k as your backup savings? And you're like, well, I'll pay myself back. That's true. But understand that when you sold that money in your 401k, right, you made the sale because you needed the money. You sold it, let's pretend it was at $25 a share. Well, if the market goes up by the time you pay back yourself and you pay back that money into that account, then you could be buying back in at $30 a share or $40 a share or $50 a share. And so now you sold it low and you bought it high. Exact opposite of what we want to do. And that's why it's important to understand not using your 401k as a savings account. Now, when we look at other places, we could say, well, Crystal, what about a CD? A CD, that could be a great way to put safe money aside. Well, we've talked about it before. Yes, the benefits are you can put high contributions in it. It is have the bank's FDIC insurance on it. But the negative part is that the interest rates are low. They can be taxed, and even though it's a small amount of interest, it's taxed at ordinary income tax rates. So that $2 that you made on it, that you allowed your money to be locked up for, is now also going to be taxed. And remember, the criteria that I like to use, the criteria says, well, wait a minute, I want to make sure that I can touch that money so it's not locked up, so therefore the CD's out. I want to make sure that when I take the money out of whatever I use, it's tax-free. CD, when you take the money out, you have to pay taxes on the growth, so that disqualifies it. You're going to find, or you may find, I don't want to use a statement, so you may find that many of the safe vehicles that are out there do not perform and give you all the benefits that you need when you're creating a tax-free, uninterrupted compounding interest type of savings account. So don't be quick saying, well, I'm just going to grab a CD. That took care of what Crystal was saying. Remember, when Nintendo had that problem, and they knew, if I don't make some changes, this company's going to go out of business. They took their time to find the right solutions. They put the mustache so they didn't have to worry about creating the mouth. They put the gloves so they didn't have to worry about the fingers grabbing the coin. And they put the hat so they didn't have to worry about making hair flowing in the wind. When you feel right now the pressure of inflation and the price that you're paying when it comes to the supermarket, when you're going to the grocery store, when you're going to the gas pump, and you're feeling that pressure on it, don't be so quick to lash out and react, pull things from the markets, throw things in CDs. Evaluate. Take time to think. This is where having that internal fortitude that we touched on briefly last week, I'm going to touch on it this week. I'll probably touch on it for the next 2 weeks, because that is one of the keys in creating wealth. The ability to evaluate and stick to the plan, or stick to a plan even when everything else is screaming around you. That's an important key for creating wealth. So we see that the CD was not the option. When we look down, I'm just going to read them, but those of you on YouTube can see this. A margin account, well, a margin account, that says a margin account on a stock portfolio. If it says stock portfolio, it does not qualify as a savings account, because there is risk that the value could go up and down. Permanent life insurance, yes, it has a tax-free death benefit, but you have to die to get it. The next one is real estate equity. Okay, so now you can go into your house and get money out. Let's talk about that one for a moment. And then I want to go back to that permanent life insurance one. If we are looking at our house as a way that we can tap money out of, we need to be aware of what we're doing. I get very concerned when I see individuals will take money out of their house and then throw it in the stock market, hoping to hit it big. We've got to get past that I'm going to quick make something huge happen in my life, that silver bullet moment. Be careful when you're looking for ways that you can create income. If you're going to take money from your house, then talk to a qualified, certified reverse mortgage specialist. We have walked clients through it. And I know you might say, oh, Crystal, you believe in reverse mortgages? At the appropriate times, with the appropriate company, with the appropriate contract. These are things that, again, are cause for evaluation to decide if it's right for you. Also, we could look for a green tank, but I don't. Let me finish with this thought. I don't see real estate as a green tank, a way where you're going to put your savings to access it when you need it, because when you get to retirement and you don't have a job and you don't want to touch your money that's in your investments, and you go to the bank and say, hey, my investments are down today. I need $2,000 a month. Can I just take money out of my $1 million home? They're going to say, and where are you going to get the money to pay me back for it? Oh, see, when we're working, we're used to being able to say, I'd like to borrow this because I can pay it back with that. Changes when you're in retirement, hence the need to build a strong green tank account. So where do we do it? Savings getting point nothing, and I'm showing that on the screen. All right, interest rates are low. It's taxed at ordinary income. It doesn't meet it. So if we've gone through our list of typical places we can go and we're not finding anything, I'm going back to the list and say, well, then where is this green tank reside? And it resides inside of a life insurance policy. Because the life insurance policy, we can pay a premium for the life insurance and use the remainder amount to go into a cash value portion where the life insurance company guarantees a 3% growth, at least the one I'm referencing right now, a 3% growth up to 5%. We have companies that we're using that have paid dividends without interruptions for 131 years. So these are the places where we begin to say, wait a minute, you mean I have an opportunity to not only make sure I have a tax-free inheritance to my children, to my spouse, but I can have a safe place to put money so that when the market is down, I can go ahead and touch it. And let me show you what that looks like. So here we go. Inside here, we have an insurance company, and I'm verbally walking this through for those of you on radio. And inside that insurance company, they said, we want X amount of dollars to insure your life. Okay, let's pretend it's $100. So I'm giving you $100. And we say, well, we're going to pay $400 more, and we're going to put it in this cash value because you guaranteed me that it's at 3% growth up to 5%. You guaranteed me I can touch it anytime I need and have it back in my account quickly, and I can use it for whatever I need it. I can actually go to the insurance company and say, hey, you're on the hook for $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, depends on whatever your policy is, and you have to pay that to my beneficiaries. I'd like to use some of that money now. I'm looking at how much I have in my cash value, and I don't want to touch my own money. I want to have collateral capacity, which, if you remember, we had talked about that just briefly before we went to the break. And collateral capacity says, look how much I have here. Let me use your money, Mr. Insurance Company or Mrs. Insurance Company, to take care of whatever a need I have. You leave my money alone and allow it to grow tax-free, uninterrupted, compounding interest. And that continues to grow. And then if I need it when I'm ready, I can pay you back. I'm not forced to pay back alone. See, being able to put your resources in a place that we know that has the backing of an insurance company, that we know will grow tax-free, that the government, when you take it out, can't say, oh, you got to pay ordinary income taxes on it, and you can use it for whatever you need to, where the dividends are considered a return of premium and you don't have to pay taxes on your dividends. These are areas in life where we need to begin to evaluate what's the best way to position yourself in a down market so you can still have resources, right? You want to be able to have access to them, but you don't want to touch anything that's in the market. And so many times what we'll do is we will use life insurance. Now, for some people, there's a stigma when it comes to life insurance. They get hung up on it. They say, oh my gosh, why would I ever use life insurance? I heard life insurance is bad. There are so many appropriate and inappropriate vehicles that are out there. And what happens many times is someone will find something and that it will be good for someone, and then someone will misuse it. And because there's a story about someone misused it, someone didn't set it up properly, someone wasn't trained in it, it puts a bad taste in individuals' mouth, and then they shy away from everything. But I go back to this. What if I was Nintendo and I said, you know what? This is the way we're going to do it, and we're just going to keep doing it this way, even though we're losing money, even though we're not having the success we want. But Nintendo was able to say, wait a minute. Why don't I evaluate the other options that are out there? What if I look at a new way to do Super Mario? What if we put a mustache? Why are we so hung up on his mouth? Why don't we put a hat or gloves? My question to you would be, if you're looking at your finances, you're totally pleased, you feel like, the market's down, this is great, I'm buying more stocks, I feel good about it, I have some other place I can take money, then hey, more power to you. But as we close our program today, my question would be, if what you thought to be true wasn't true, when would you want to know? And if you're not getting the results that you want, perhaps, just perhaps, we need to expand the horizon and look at other options that are working successfully for others. Well, we are at the end of our time together. I want to encourage you to give our office a call at 518-433-7181. And then join us again next week as we continue to provide more financial clarity so that you can have confidence for every financial decision. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you for watching the Crystal Clear Finances YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this program, then give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to meet with one of our financial advisors, feel free to give us a call at 518-433-7181 and gain confidence for every financial decision. Thank you, and God bless.